If you're watching your retirement savings shrink against an unpredictable economy, I've got an unvarnished truth for you. Most people who retire abroad fall into a trap I call the paradise tax.
They move headfirst into heavily marketed beach enclaves, pay Western markups, and drain their retirement nest eggs twice as fast as planned.
But you don't have to choose between an overpriced tourist trap or a sweltering inland city. I'm Bill Hare from Affordable Retirement Abroad. Today on GeoPension Journeys, we dig deep into the top 10 affordable retirement destinations on the Yucatán Peninsula.
On this channel, we use a data-driven framework called the Core-Satellite method. You live in a quiet, low-overhead satellite town with cheap rents, between $400 and $700 a month. But you position yourself right next to a heavy-duty regional city core that houses your private surgical hospitals and big-box conveniences. In this movie-length masterclass, we're putting the entire Yucatán Peninsula to the test. For the first time, I've stitched all 8 of our boots-on-the-ground city audits into one unbroken comparison film, allowing you to review physical walkability, actual safety tiers, and real financial baselines all in one sitting. Plus, make sure you stay locked in until the finale. If you don't qualify under Mexico's heavy income requirements for residency, I've included a special 2-part bonus profiling the Belize border hack, a legal loophole that lets you use a much more affordable residency visa in 2 English-speaking towns on the border while offloading your healthcare and major shopping straight back into Mexico.
So grab a notebook and some coffee, get comfortable, and let's jump straight into our first region, the Colonial Gems.
We're kicking off this tour by looking at cities that offer rich historic charm, incredibly tight-knit community fabrics, and an absolutely premium Level 1 safety rating from the U.S. Department of State, meaning these streets are statistically safer than many metropolitan areas back home. First, we're diving into Valladolid, an authentic interior city that I call Mérida Light, because it gives you that beautiful colonial lifestyle, but without the extreme big city noise or the scorching urban heat trap. Best of all, we found clean, comfortable rentals here sitting right between $450 and $700 a month. From there, we turn to Campeche, the single best-kept secret on the peninsula. It's a peaceful, walled, maritime city where you can live surrounded by incredible historic architecture, entirely unbothered by commercial spring break tourism. Let's look at the numbers on the Colonial Gems. First up is Valladolid.
North Americans look to retire in Mexico's Yucatán Peninsula. Most people point them towards Mérida. What if Mérida is just too big, too loud, and too overwhelming for you? But what if you want the incredible colonial architecture, the safety, and the deep Mayan culture, all without the stress and at a much lower cost?
Welcome to Valladolid. It is a stunning Pueblo Mágico that feels exactly like a Mérida Light. But the big question we always ask here on the channel is, just because a place is charming and affordable, does that actually make it livable in the long term? Today, we're putting Valladolid through the 10 dimensions of the GeoPension report card. Does it score higher than the beach town of Tulum? Can it truly compete with a gold standard of Mérida? Stick around until the end and I'll reveal its final score to see if this is the ultimate low-stress alternative. Valladolid offers a vibe that is at once urban sophistication and completely relaxing. It features an easily walkable, charming colonial downtown where you really don't need a car for your daily errands. But the real secret weapon of this micro-location is the logistics. Valladolid sits perfectly positioned in the center of the peninsula. You have an incredibly easy access via the comfortable ADO bus or the brand new Tren Maya directly to the Cancun airport. That means you get quick non-stop flights back to the US or Canada to visit the grandkids without actually having to live in the chaotic, overpriced tourist bubble of Cancun itself. But can Valladolid pass the affordability stress test for a North American pension? A single expat retiree can live comfortably in Valladolid for around $1,500 to $2,500 a month. While basic frugal living can be achieved around $1,500, a budget of $1,800 to the $2,500 really allows for a more comfortable lifestyle, including renting a beautifully restored apartment, dining out frequently, running your air conditioning, which is really important in the summer here, and enjoying local entertainment. Let's dig into exactly why that is across our 10 categories. Number 1, housing cost fit, 9 out of 10. Your dollar goes incredibly far here. Valladolid features very affordable apartment and home rentals that easily fit a Social Security budget. But here is the massive real estate secret for buyers. Under the Mexican Constitution, foreigners cannot directly own residential property within 50 kilometers of the coast. You have to use a fideicomiso, a bank trust. Those trusts cost thousands of dollars to set up, require a ton of annoying paperwork, and charge annual maintenance fees of $500 or more. Because Valladolid is located inland, it sits entirely outside of this restricted zone. That means if you want to buy a home here, you can purchase it directly in your own name with a standard deed, an escritura pública. It is a massive financial and logistical win that saves you a fortune in banking fees over your retirement. Number 2, healthcare access, 7.5 out of 10. Medical care here is perfectly fine for basic to mid-level routine care. There are several reliable private clinics in town, and, like elsewhere in Mexico, local pharmacies often have doctors attached for cheap, on-the-spot consultations for minor ailments. However, Valladolid is not a massive medical tourism hub. If you have complex chronic issues or need highly specialized surgery, you will need to utilize the easy highway access to reach the excellent world-class hospitals located 2 hours away in Cancun or Mérida. Number 3, safety and stability, 8.5 out of 10. Valladolid holds the coveted Pueblo Mágico, or Magic Town, designation from the government, which brings in federal funds to keep the city pristine and heavily patrolled. It is incredibly safe and peaceful. This is a tight-knit community where cartel violence affecting locals or tourists is virtually non-existent. You can comfortably and safely walk around the central plazas and colonial alleyways late at night. During my visit, I noticed numerous solo female travelers walking around town at night. Number 4, walkability and transport, 8.5 out of 10. The Colonial downtown is highly walkable, completely flat, and organized on a simple grid. The only minor issue is that some of the historic sidewalks can be quite narrow, but it's the regional transport that shines, with cheap local taxis, comfortable ADO buses, and the brand new Tren Maya station. Popping over to Mérida for the weekend or getting to the Cancun airport is an absolute breeze. In fact, with the new Tren Maya, it's a snap to enjoy a few days on the beaches of Playa del Carmen while avoiding the high cost and stress of actually living in that over-popular beach town. Fact is, you do not need to own a car in Valladolid. Number 5, community and belonging, 7.5 out of 10. The expat community here is growing, but it remains much smaller and less organized than the massive, sometimes overwhelming hubs like Lake Chapala or Mérida. You won't find endless English-speaking expat clubs or massive weekly meetups. The people who retire here tend to be culturally curious. Integrating takes a bit more effort, but the local Mexican community is famously welcoming, and the rewards are genuine local friendships rather than just living in an expat bubble. Number 6, language and English access, 6 out of 10. This is a critical boots-on-the-ground reality check. Because Valladolid is an authentic Mexican town and not a massive international beach resort, you will absolutely need basic Spanish. Whether you are negotiating rent, setting up your internet with Telmex, or buying groceries at the local mercado, do not expect the person across the counter to speak English. If you are willing to learn, it's a wonderful, immersive environment. If you refuse to learn Spanish, you will find daily life frustrating. 7. Climate and environment. 7 out of 10. It's the Yucatán, which means it gets very hot and very humid. Because Valladolid is inland, you do not get the coastal sea breezes that a place like Tulum enjoys, creating a bit of a heat island effect in the summer. You will be relying heavily on your air conditioning. However, the region's saving grace is the water. The town is completely surrounded by, and even built on top of, stunning freshwater cenotes. These natural limestone swimming holes offer incredible, refreshing places to cool off every single day. Number 8. Pets and environment. 7.5 out of 10. The walkable streets and nearby parks are great for dogs. And there are very affordable, high-quality local veterinarians in town. However, like many authentic Mexican towns, you will encounter free-roaming street dogs. While usually docile, they can be territorial, so you need to keep a close eye on your own pets during your daily walks and be mindful of those narrow colonial sidewalks. And now we hit the standard Mexico visa fork in the road. To acquire a residency visa in 2026, you need to prove your income of roughly $4,300 a month, or show assets of at least $75,000. If you clear that financial hurdle, Valladolid's practicality is high. The overall cost of living is low. Avoiding the coastal fideicomiso makes buying property much simpler, and handling local bureaucracy is often easier here because the offices aren't overwhelmed with thousands of other expats. And finally, number 10, the vibe check, 8.5 out of 10. This is the ultimate Mérida light factor. There is still a ton of deep Maya and Spanish colonial culture to soak in, stunning architecture, and amazing local food. Yes, it has less going on than the massive cultural powerhouse of Mérida. You won't find a symphony or massive museums, but the trade-off is a much more relaxing, less chaotic, slower-paced daily life. It's the kind of town where your biggest Sunday decision is what flavor marquesita to buy in the plaza. The final score is in. Valladolid earns a fantastic overall 78 out of 100. For context, that places it notably higher than the chaotic tourist hub of Tulum, Pueblo, which scored a 74. It sits just slightly lower than the gold standard of Mérida, making it the absolute perfect sweet spot between chaos and calm. If you want colonial charm, incredibly affordable housing with no fideicomiso required, and easy train or bus access to the airport to see your family, Valladolid might just be your perfect GeoPension destination. Let me know in the comments below. Would you choose the quiet, walkable charm of Valladolid or the bustling big city culture of Mérida? Next, let's look at Campeche. Welcome to the historic walled city of Campeche on Mexico's Yucatán Peninsula.
We're going to be walking through town and visiting the places where American retirees are settling. Is this town a hidden gem?
When North Americans look to retire in the Yucatán, 90% of them look at Mérida. They look at the incredible culture, the infrastructure, and that famous level 1 safety rating from the U.S. State Department. But sometimes when you look for the best, you end up competing with everyone else who found it too. What if there was a city just 2 hours away that has the exact same level 1 safety rating, a significantly lower cost of living, and breathtaking waterfront views, but nobody is talking about it? Welcome to Campeche. It's a stunning, walled Spanish colonial city right on the Gulf of Mexico. But the big question we always ask here is, just because it's safe and cheap, does that actually make it livable? Today, we're applying my micro-location framework to the historic city center of Campeche. We're running it through the 10 dimensions of the GeoPension report card to see if this is the ultimate hidden gem alternative to Mérida, or if it's just plain sleepy. Our recent video about Tulum, Pueblo was a reality check about looking past the tourist hype. Campeche is a reality check on expectations. If you want a booming expat club, major cultural events every night, and English spoken everywhere, this is not the city for you. But if you value history, calm, and stunning daily sunsets with a great restaurant scene, look at this. The historic center is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, surrounded by its original forts and walls, built centuries ago to keep out marauding pirates. It feels like stepping back 300 years, but with modern electricity and fiber optic internet. This isn't the chaotic paradise of Playa del Carmen in Tulum. This is authentic, peaceful, waterfront Mexican living. But can it pass the affordability stress test for a North American pension? Number 1, housing cost fit, 8.5 out of 10. Your dollar goes a lot further here than in Mérida. Long-term rentals for a modern furnished one-bedroom apartment just outside the historic walls in barrios like Guadalupe generally range from $450 to $750 US per month. If you want a fully restored Colonial inside the walls, you'll pay a premium, but it's still a massive bargain compared to Mérida's high-end Centro neighborhood. It's an easy win for a fixed income. Number 2, healthcare access, 7 out of 10. Campeche has excellent regional hospitals, specialized private clinics, and modern emergency services. It's perfectly fine for routine care and managed conditions. However, for highly complex procedures or super specialized treatment, you will almost always make the 2-hour trip north to Mérida, which has some of the best hospitals in Latin America. Number 3, safety and stability, 9.5 out of 10. Campeche is incredibly consistent. It competes with Mérida for the title of the safest state in all of Mexico year after year. Here in the Centro Histórico micro-location, the presence of tourist police is high and cartel violence is virtually non-existent. It's peaceful, and you can comfortably walk the brightly lit Colonial streets late at night. This is the top reason people move here. Number 4, walkability and transport, 8.5 out of 10. The entire historic center is perfectly flat and condensed into a grid that is arguably more walkable than any city in the country. Plus, you have the magnificent 4-mile-long Malecón waterfront boardwalk for your daily walks. Colectivos, which are local shared vans, are just 50 US cents for a local ride and are very efficient. Ubers, or the local ride-sharing app Didi, is also cheap. Also, the new ADO bus terminal makes travel to Mérida simple. Finally, the recently completed Train Maya will take you directly from the Cancun airport or the Mérida airport to the new Campeche train station, which now has itself a tram connecting it to the city center. Number 5, community and belonging, 7 out of 10. This is the trade-off for that quiet life. The expat community here is smaller and less organized than in the main hubs like San Miguel de Allende or Mérida. Still, local expat groups on Facebook, such as Campeche Expats, are very active and a wonderful source of advice for apartment hunting and local living. So, finding your people in a vibrant social circle certainly takes effort, but it's very doable. And if your goal is integrating into the local Mexican community and making local friends, this environment is perfect for that. Number 6, language and English access, 5.5 out of 10. This is the critical boots-on-the-ground reality check. In Tulum or Mérida, you could live an entirely English-speaking life. In Campeche, you absolutely cannot. Spanish is essential for daily navigation, banking, and real estate. The local population and even many service industry workers in the Centro speak little to no English. If you don't want to learn the language, you will find the city frustrating. Personally, I learned Spanish when I was in my 50s, so I can assure you it's never too late, and a little Espanol will deeply enrich your overseas retirement experience. Number 7, climate and environment. 7 out of 10. Hey, it's the Yucatan. It's going to be hot and humid for most of the year, and there are no nearby mountains to provide relief. I'm docking 3 points because the summers are oppressive, and unlike Tulum, the historic center of Campeche doesn't benefit from much of a sea breeze due to the Gulf's orientation, making it feel even hotter inside the city walls. Also, be aware of occasional coastal flooding during high storms or hurricanes. Number 8, pet friendliness and care, 8.5 out of 10. Campeche is fantastic for pet owners. There are several high-quality veterinary clinics, many of which are very affordable compared to U.S. prices. The Malecón is perhaps the best dog park in the world for long daily walks. When I visited, the Malecón was completely closed to car traffic on Sunday morning, and numerous dogs were enjoying the scene. On top of that, I discovered this fun dog park located just off the Malecón, next to the historic downtown zone. The flat, organized streets make it easy to manage your pet in this charming micro-location. Last, several large supermarkets stock a wide range of cat and dog food and care-related items. Number 9, visas and practicality, 8 out of 10. We have to hit that standard Mexico visa fork in the road again. To get here legally and acquire a residency visa, you need to prove your income is at least $4,300 a month or you have assets of at least $75,000. If you clear that hurdle, Campeche's practicality is actually really high. Banking, getting utilities set up, and handling bureaucracy is simpler here because it's not overwhelmed with thousands of other expats competing for appointments like in the major cities. If you can't meet these income requirements, our channel will be profiling numerous alternative destinations over the coming months. Finally, number 10, the vibe check, 8.5 out of 10. This is the boots on the ground factor. I'm in love with the vibe of this city. It's refined, it's safe, and the combination of Spanish history and beautiful water views is unmatched. If you want to walk for your groceries after strolling through a local museum or historic church, Campeche is for you. However, I've bumped it down 1.5 points because it can be too quiet for some. If you thrive on major events, varied entertainment, and a lively social scene, you might find yourself feeling bored here compared to a cultural hub like Mérida. Campeche scores an overall 78 out of 100. That is a massive achievement. It is a fantastic option if safety, colonial beauty, and a lower cost of living are your top 3 priorities, provided you're willing to learn some Spanish. But here's the final kicker, the logistical trap that keeps this place hidden. Tulum got a major logistical boost from its new international airport. Campeche's airport is tiny and only has a few flights, mostly connecting to hubs like Mexico City. To get to the US or Canada, you will almost always need to make that 2-hour trip back to the Mérida airport or to Cancun. So while Campeche is cheaper and safer, it is simply more difficult to leave. For some, that isolation is paradise. For others who want to travel frequently to see family, that 4-hour round-trip commute every single time is a deal breaker. So, if you could clear that Mexico visa requirement, would you choose the famous cultural powerhouse of Mérida, or would you take the quieter, equally safe waterfront secret of Campeche? Let me know in the comments below. As you just saw, those historic colonial strongholds offer incredible cultural depth and an absolute premium level of safety on a fixed income. But let's face the facts. Many retirees just want a simple daily lifestyle next to the ocean. The problem is, if you try to plant your flag right in the middle of a global tourist destination like Playa del Carmen or Tulum Beach, your budget will be crushed by international markups. So, how do you get the Caribbean lifestyle without the premium invoice? Well, you find a side door. In this section, we're auditing the strategic Pueblo grids and coastal satellites of Progreso, Tulum Pueblo, and Akumal Pueblo. I'm going to show you how stepping just across the highway or down a local bike path puts you among local working families, where the rent falls back to a normal domestic baseline, but the ocean is still right at your fingertips. Let's look at the coastal side doors. First up, Progreso.
When North Americans look to retire to the Yucatán Peninsula, most look to Mérida, or if they can afford it, Playa del Carmen. But what if Mérida and the Riviera Maya are just too big, too loud, and too overpriced for you?
What if your dream retirement requires an ocean breeze and a slower pace, but you still want the first world infrastructure like world-class hospitals or this huge Costco that literally has a stunning natural geological cenote, a limestone cavern preserved right in the middle of its parking lot?
Welcome to Progreso, small town beach living next to big city services.
It is the closest beach access for Mérida expats, and the beach is beautiful. But the big question we always ask here on this channel is, just because a place has a beach, does that actually make it livable long term? We have to ask, is Progreso just Mérida's weekend getaway, or is Mérida actually Progreso's getaway? Today we're putting Progreso through the 10 dimensions of the GeoPension report card. Stick around to the end and I'll reveal its final score to see if this is the ultimate low-stress coastal alternative to Mérida. A single expat retiree can live comfortably in Progreso for approximately $1,700 to $2,700 US per month. While basic frugal living can be achieved around $1,700, a budget of $2,000 to $2,700 allows for a very comfortable lifestyle, including renting a great condo near the water, dining out frequently on the Malecón, running your air conditioning, and enjoying local entertainment. So let's dig into exactly why that is across our 10 categories. Number 1, housing cost fit, 8 out of 10. Your dollar goes incredibly far here on rentals. On average, you can expect housing in Progreso to run about 20 to 30% cheaper than what you'd pay for a comparable place in the heart of Mérida. Progreso features very affordable apartment and home rentals that easily fit a Social Security budget, often ranging from $500 to $800 a month for ocean-adjacent living. But here is the massive real estate reality check for home buyers. Under the Mexican Constitution, foreigners cannot directly own residential property within 50 kilometers of the coast. You have to use a fideicomiso, a bank trust. Those trusts cost thousands of dollars to set up, require a ton of annoying paperwork, and charge annual maintenance fees. Because Progreso is right on the water, you are firmly inside this restricted zone. You get a massive discount on rent compared to the US and Mérida, but buying will cost you in banking fees. Number 2, healthcare access, 7 out of 10. Medical care here is perfectly fine for basic routine care. The American Medical Center is a small hospital in town, and there are several reliable private clinics. And like elsewhere in Mexico, local pharmacies offer cheap, on-the-spot doctor consultations for minor ailments. However, Progreso is not a massive medical hub. If you have complex chronic issues or need highly specialized surgery, you'll need to utilize the easy highway access to reach the excellent world-class hospitals like Star Medica or Faro, located 24 miles away in Mérida. Number 3, safety and stability, 8.5 out of 10. The state of Yucatan consistently ranks as the safest state in all of Mexico, and Progreso deeply reflects that. The U.S. State Department assigns it a safety rating of 1, the highest possible rating, higher than Italy, Spain, or the UK. It is incredibly safe and peaceful. This is a tight-knit, family-oriented community where cartel violence affecting locals or tourists is virtually non-existent. You can comfortably and safely walk along the Malecón and the beach late at night. Your only real concern here is standard petty theft if you leave your bag completely unattended on the sand. Number 4, walkability and transport, 9 out of 10. The downtown grid is highly walkable and completely flat, but the local transport is where Progreso truly shines. With dedicated bike lanes, you can navigate town safely on 2 wheels. And for regional transport, the Auto Progreso bus is a game changer. For a couple of dollars, you get a clean, comfortable, air-conditioned ride straight into Mérida. You simply do not need to own a car here, which saves a massive amount of money on your retirement budget. And here is a boots-on-the-ground pro tip from a viewer named Anna in our GeoPension YouTube community. For those days when you need to make a massive Costco run, and yes, the Mérida Costco literally has a natural underground cenote preserved right in the middle of the parking lot, you don't need a car. Anna pointed out that the bus from Progreso travels right down Calle 60, directly past Costco and the Galerías Mall. Just tell the driver when you board in Progreso, and they will let you hop off right near the Colonial Revolucion instead of riding all the way into the busy Centro terminal. To get back to the beach, you just cross to the opposite side of Calle 60 and physically flag down the returning bus. However, a quick reality check. If you're hauling a massive heavy load of bulk supplies, just grab a cheap Uber or Didi back to the main terminal in Centro to catch a ride. Those returning buses often fill up at the main station, and you don't want to be left standing on the curb trying to flag down a full bus with melting groceries. It's a minor logistical hack that makes living in a beach town with easy access to first world amenities completely seamless. Number 5, community and belonging, 8 out of 10. The expat community here is deeply established, primarily driven by Canadian and American snowbirds who flock here to escape the winter. You will find it incredibly easy to make friends and find English-speaking social circles during the high season. Integrating takes a bit more effort in the sweltering summer months when many expats go home, but the local Mexican community is famously welcoming all year round. Number 6, language and English access, 6.5 out of 10. This is a critical boots-on-the-ground reality check. Because Progreso has a large snowbird population, you can absolutely get by with English along the Malecón and in the main tourist restaurants. But step 2 streets back into the authentic Mexican town, you will absolutely need some basic Spanish. Whether you're negotiating rent, dealing with a plumber, or buying your produce at the local mercado, do not expect the person across the counter to speak English. If you refuse to learn Spanish, daily errands will be frustrating. Number 7, climate and environment, 7.5 out of 10. Hey, it's the Yucatán. That means it gets very hot and very humid. However, Progreso holds a massive advantage over the inland cities. Because it sits right on the coast, it benefits heavily from the constant ocean breeze. While Mérida can feel like a concrete heat island in May and June, Progreso's breeze takes the edge off. You'll still be relying heavily on your air conditioning, but the environment is noticeably more comfortable than the city. And here's a pro tip for beach lovers who've heard about the massive seaweed blooms plaguing the Riviera Maya towns during the warmest months. Progreso and the surrounding Yucatán Gulf Coast generally have significantly less sargassum weed than Riviera Maya towns like Playa del Carmen, Tulum, and Akumal. Because it's located on the Gulf rather than the Caribbean Sea, it is less directly hit by the currents that bring those putrid blobs of seaweed to the eastern Yucatan. Number 8, pet friendliness and care, 7.5 out of 10. The walkable beach and the long Malecón are absolute paradise for dogs, and there are very affordable, high-quality local veterinarians right in town. However, like many authentic Mexican towns, you will encounter free-roaming street dogs. While usually docile, they can be territorial, so you'll need to keep a close eye on your own pets during your daily walks away from the main tourist zones. Number 9, visas and practicality, 6.5 out of 10. So now we hit the standard Mexico residency visa fork in the road. To acquire a temporary residency visa in 2026, you need to prove income of roughly $4,300 a month, or assets of at least $75,000. If you clear that financial hurdle, Progreso's day-to-day practicality is high. However, it loses points in this category because if you want to buy property, you're forced to deal with the bureaucracy and expense of the coastal Fideicomiso Bank Trust, adding a layer of red tape that inland cities like Valladolid and parts of Mérida avoid. Finally, number 10, the vibe check, 7.5 out of 10. This is the ultimate chiller lifestyle factor. There is a deep, relaxing rhythm to Progreso. Yes, it has significantly less high culture going on than a powerhouse like Mérida. You won't find a symphony, massive museums, high-end shopping malls, or an historic colonial center here. But the trade-off is a relaxing, less chaotic, slower-paced daily life centered around the water and the local mercado. It's the kind of town where your biggest decision is whether to buy your fresh mangoes at the market or from a vendor on the beach. The final score is in. Progreso earns a very solid overall 76 out of 100. For context, that places it notably higher than the chaotic, overpriced tourist hub of Tulum, Pueblo, which scored a 74. It sits slightly lower than our inland colonial choice of Valladolid at 78, making it a fantastic beach compromise. If you want ocean breezes, incredibly affordable rent, a walkable layout with bike lanes, and easy bus access to top-tier city amenities, Progreso just might be your perfect GeoPension destination. Let me know in the comments below. Would you choose the quiet coastal charm of Progreso or the bustling big city culture of Mérida? Next, Tulum, Pueblo.
If you watched the news recently, you probably saw some scary headlines coming out of Western Mexico. But remember the core rule of this channel. We don't rely on broad headlines to choose where we retire. We rely on the GeoPension Framework and its data-driven analysis. Because you don't retire to a country, you retire to a specific neighborhood in a specific city, what we call a micro-location.
That recent unrest was over 1,200 miles away on the Pacific coast. Here in Tulum on the Caribbean side, the U.S. State Department has the safety rating at a level 2, the exact same safety rating as France and Italy. But safety aside, when most people hear Tulum, they think of the Tuluminati, overpriced beach clubs, massive traffic jams, and 20-somethings drinking $25 green juices. If you're a North American looking for an affordable place to retire, Tulum looks like an absolute nightmare. But what if I told you everyone's just looking on the wrong side of the highway? I just spent weeks scouting the Yucatan, and today we're putting Tulum's traditional downtown, Tulum Pueblo, through the ultimate stress test, the GeoPension report card. Let's find out if the affordable Riviera Maya actually exists. Welcome to Tulum Pueblo, the actual downtown where the locals and the savvy expats live. If you want to know if a city is livable, don't look at the beaches, look at the grocery stores. I stayed right across the street from the brand new La Comer supermarket. Look at this place. It's as pristine as any high-end grocery store in Dallas or Denver, but at a fraction of the price. You get the Caribbean lifestyle without paying the paradise tax. But does the math actually hold up for a retiree? Let's run the 10 dimensions of the GeoPension report card and find out. Number 1, housing cost fit, 8 out of 10. If you stay out of the hotel zone, Tulum Pueblo offers incredible value with plenty of modern condos, apartments, and long-term rentals that easily fit a fixed income. Long-term apartment rentals generally range from $500 to $800 per month for local modest housing, while modern furnished one-bedroom units often start around $800 to $1,200 a month. I'll be doing a video just about Tulum housing soon. Number 2, healthcare access, 6 out of 10. Numerous private clinics exist in the Pueblo, offering specialized services, urgent care, and bilingual staff. But for major specialized hospital procedures, you will likely need to make the 1-hour drive north up to Playa del Carmen or Cancun. Number 3, safety and stability, 7 out of 10. This is where micro-location is key. The Pueblo itself is generally very safe and comfortable for day-to-day living. Tourists and expats are not targets of cartel unrest here. You're completely insulated from the border and Pacific Coast issues, though the broader region does deal with occasional noise strictly tied to the late-night party scene. Number 4, walkability and transport, 7 out of 10. The downtown is highly walkable and bike-friendly, but crossing the main highway can be a hassle, and you'll definitely need a scooter or a taxi to actually get to the beach. Colectivos, which are inexpensive shared local vans, for about $1 or $3, run frequently along Highway 307 to the beach road, ruins, and neighboring towns. And the renowned ADO bus system provides reliable, air-conditioned coaches for traveling to and from Cancun or Playa del Carmen. Number 5, community and belonging, 7 out of 10. There's a massive expat community here, but it definitely skews younger and more transient. Finding a steady older retiree circle takes a bit more effort than in a traditional hub, but local Tulum Facebook groups, such as Living in Tulum, are a great way to meet retirees already living there. Number 6, language and English access, 9 out of 10. Because of the massive tourism infrastructure, you can easily navigate daily life, banking, and real estate with zero Spanish while you learn. But of course, your experience will be greatly enriched by learning even rudimentary Spanish. And Tulum Pueblo is a much more traditional Mexican neighborhood than the hotel zone, so integrating into the community will certainly be easier with some Spanish. Number 7, climate and environment, 8 out of 10. You're getting world-class Caribbean beaches and cenotes right in your backyard. I docked 2 points for the intense summer humidity and the seasonal sargassum seaweed blooms. But during the peak May to August season for sargassum blooms and the rotting odor that accompanies them, Tulum Pueblo is unaffected as it is a few miles inland. During these times, it's the Tuluminati in the fancy hotel zone who suffer. Number 8, pet friendliness and care, 7.5 out of 10. This is a big one. The new La Comer supermarket has a massive modern pet supply aisle that rivals PetSmart, and local vets are incredibly affordable. But you do have to navigate rugged sidewalks and the occasional free-roaming street dogs. Number 9, visas and practicality, 8 out of 10. Here is our visa affordability fork in the road. Mexico's residency process is straightforward but expensive. You need to prove roughly $4,300 a month in income or show around $75,000 in assets sitting in the bank. If you clear either of those financial hurdles, Tulum Pueblo specifically gets an 8 because of the sheer logistics of getting around. Which brings me to my favorite discovery of the trip in just a second. And finally, number 10, the vibe check, 6.5 out of 10. This is the boots on the ground factor. The Pueblo has a cool, bustling energy, an amazing street food and affordable restaurant scene. But between the heavy highway traffic and the transient backpackers, it lacks the quiet old-world charm you'd find in a place like Valladolid or Campeche, or the world-class cultural activities of Mérida. Tulum Pueblo scores a highly respectable 74 out of 100. It's a fantastic, affordable micro-location if you want Caribbean access without the luxury price tag. But here's the ultimate kicker, the practicality score. Last month, when I was taking the train Maya from their new station next to Tulum's Jungle Airport, my phone had zero cell service. So I just stood there staring at the flight departure boards, the only entertainment available at the train station. Guys, this airport now has direct nonstop flights to Atlanta, Charlotte, Chicago, Dallas, Houston, LA, Miami, Newark, New York, Toronto, and Montreal. With this new airport, there's no need to fly to Cancun and figure out a half-day land transfer down to Tulum. If you retire in Tulum, Pueblo, your grandkids can jump on a direct flight on a Friday morning and be eating tacos with you by the afternoon. That kind of logistical ease is priceless. So, if you can clear the Mexico visa hurdle, would you ever consider the affordable Riviera Maya option of Tulum, Pueblo for retirement? Let me know in the comments below. Next, Akumal, Pueblo. Akumal, Pueblo. Here we are. We're going to walk around town and see if this is a good choice as a possible retirement destination. We're walking through the traditional Pueblo onto some of the side streets and see the neighborhood, see the residential area too. 20 or 30 years ago, I used to regularly visit Akumal with my parents or on fishing trips with my brother. Back then, it was a pristine, sleepy community built around a quiet turtle sanctuary with access from Cancun over a potholed road that we abused numerous rental cars on. But wow, has Akumal changed. On my recent Yucatan scouting trip, I drove along that classic beach road and honestly couldn't even see the water. It was completely swarmed with overpriced beachfront condos, boutique hotels, and day trippers. If you're a North American looking to retire on a fixed income, the famous Akumal Beach is officially out of reach. But remember the core rule of this channel. We don't rely on broad sweeping headlines to choose where we retire. We rely on the GeoPension Framework's data-driven analysis. Because the truth is, you don't retire to a country, you retire to a specific neighborhood in a specific city, what we call a micro-location. So what if I told you the real, authentic, and affordable Akumal is hiding right in plain sight, just across the highway? Today we're putting Akumal's traditional downtown, Akumal Pueblo, through the ultimate stress test, the GeoPension Report Card. Let's find out if a sustainable Riviera Maya lifestyle actually exists for a social security budget. Welcome to Akumal, Pueblo. This is the traditional downtown located just west of Highway 307. While the beach side of the highway is busy catering to luxury tourists and charging premium prices, the Pueblo remains tranquil, beautiful, and authentically Mexican. To give you an immediate idea of how different the cost of living is over here, as I was walking to town, I bought an incredible lunch right from a local street vendor. It was a fabulous pollo asado, served with a tasty, spicy signature salsa, slow-cooked beans, rice, and a stack of fresh, warm corn tortillas. It was a massive, hearty, half-chicken paquete that powered me for the entire day, and the whole meal cost me about $6. Try finding a lunch like that on the beachside for under $25. But delicious street food is one thing. Full-time retirement survival is another, so let's run the 10 dimensions of the GeoPension Report Card and look at the real data. A single expat retiree can live very comfortably in Akumal, Pueblo for approximately $1,300 to $2,100 per month, or around $1,900 to $2,500 for a couple. Because it lacks a massive beachside premium, your dollar stretches far here, allowing you to rent affordably and eat out frequently without breaking the bank. Let's dig into exactly why that is across our 10 categories. First up is housing, and Akumal Pueblo earns a massive 9 out of 10. By staying on the west side of the highway, you completely insulate your wallet from the beachfront paradise tax. If you're looking to buy, you can still find comfortable, modern studio condos starting around $80,000. But for renters, the value is where this micro-location truly shines. Local modest apartments and traditional Mexican-style housing in the Pueblo generally range from $400 to $600 per month. If you want something more modern, like a fully furnished one-bedroom unit with air conditioning and updated finishes, Prices typically sit between $650 and $900 a month. Compared to the thousands of dollars a month required just 1 mile away on the sand, this is an incredible budget-saving loophole in the Riviera Maya. Number 2, healthcare access, 8 out of 10. For a relatively small town, Akumal Pueblo punches way above its weight in medical care. Right on Gonzalo Guerrero Avenue, you have the Akumal Medical Center, where bilingual doctors offer full diagnostic services, an on-site pharmacy, and, incredibly, 24/7 house calls. Just down the road, you also have the Reef Akumal Clinic, which handles excellent English-speaking dental care and routine checkups. And if you ever need a major specialized hospital procedure, you're just a flat 30-minute drive north to the world-class private hospitals in Playa del Carmen. And a bit further north in Cancun is Hospital Medcal, which recently allied with Lakeside Medical to accept certain Medicare Advantage plans for emergency care. See my video all about this new healthcare option in the Yucatan. Number 3, safety and stability, 7 out of 10. Safety is always the number one question I get. Akumal Pueblo is a tight-knit community where neighbors look out for one another, making it naturally quieter and safer than major tourist hubs like Tulum or Cancun. The local municipality has recently increased its police presence and regular patrols to maintain that small-town peace. Tourists and expats are simply not targets of cartel unrest here, allowing you to walk the side streets comfortably during the day. Overall, the state of Quintana Roo, where Akumal is located, has a U.S. State Department safety rating of level 2, on par with Germany, Italy, and France. Number 4, walkability and transport, 8 out of 10. The pueblo itself is completely flat and highly walkable. You can get to the grocery stores, restaurants, and pharmacies on foot in less than 10 minutes. When you want to explore the rest of the coast, you don't even need to own a car. You just walk out to the main highway and hop on the colectivos. These are highly inexpensive shared local transit vans that run every few minutes up and down Highway 307 for just a couple of dollars per ride. Or use the Mayab bus to get to larger cities like Tulum and Playa del Carmen. The only minor drawback keeping this from a perfect score is the physical hike across the highway bridge when you want to walk over to the beach. Number 5, community and belonging, 8 out of 10. Unlike the transient, party-heavy backpacker vibe you find further south in Tulum, the Pueblo has a deeply grounded, welcoming energy. It's a beautiful mix of local Mexican families and savvy, long-term North American expats who intentionally chose the quiet culture of the town over the chaotic beach clubs. On top of that, there are half a dozen Facebook groups dedicated to the Akumal area. It's an easy place to find your footing and build a real consistent circle of friends. Number 6, language and English access, 6 out of 10. So let's talk about the trade-offs. This is an authentic Mexican neighborhood, which means English is not a given once you leave the medical clinics or the real estate offices. To negotiate your rent, buy your groceries, and order that amazing $6 chicken lunch, you're going to need to learn some basic conversational Spanish. If you refuse to learn the language, you will struggle to integrate here. Number 7, climate and environment, 7 out of 10. Because the Pueblo sits on the west side of the highway, you're tucked further into the jungle landscape. This means you lose that direct cooling ocean breeze, and the summer months can feel incredibly hot and humid. However, being inland comes with an environmental bonus. You're less exposed to the seasonal sargassum seaweed blooms and the terrible rotting odor that plagues the expensive beachfront properties during the summer. Number 8, pet friendliness and care, 7 out of 10. For animal lovers, the laid-back rural atmosphere of the Pueblo is highly welcoming for pets. Excellent and affordable veterinary care is easily accessible in town or just a short drive away in nearby Puerto Aventuras. Just keep in mind that you will have to navigate some uneven, rugged sidewalks on your daily walks, and you'll frequently encounter free-roaming neighborhood street dogs. Number 9, visas and practicality, 7 out of 10. To unlock this lifestyle, you have to cross Mexico's strict financial fork in the road. For a residency visa, you generally need to prove at least $4,300 a month in recurring income, or show around $75,000 in liquid assets sitting in a bank account. If you can clear that hurdle, the practical logistics of living here are unmatched. The brand new Tulum Jungle Airport is just a short drive away, offering direct non-stop flights to major U.S. hubs like Atlanta, Houston, Chicago, and Dallas. Your kids and grandkids can come visit you with absolute ease. Finally, number 10, the vibe check, 8 out of 10. The boots on the ground factor. Akumal Pueblo has a truly special, vibrant energy. Between the local community art walk tours, the incredibly friendly locals, and the tasty budget-friendly food scene, it offers the exact kind of tranquil, old-world Mexican charm that the commercialized beachside lost decades ago. So when we tally up the data, Akumal Pueblo scores a very respectable 75 out of 100. It stands as definitive proof that if you're willing to learn a little Spanish, step off the tourist track, and live like a local, you can absolutely still afford to retire in the absolute heart of the beautiful Riviera Maya. Now, as we push completely away from the heavy tour bus lanes of the northern coast, we enter a region I consider one of the most structurally brilliant layouts for a budget retirement in all of Latin America. I call it the Serene South. When you move into rural beach towns, you usually give up your safety net. There are no modern supermarkets, no wholesale supply lines, and zero emergency medical networks. But watch how the Southern Loop fixes this equation. By positioning yourself inside the low overhead domestic grids of a paradise lagoon like Bacalar or a quiet fishing strip like Mahahual, you can live a slow-paced, deeply affordable lifestyle next to the water. Why? Because you have a straight, flat highway transport vector leading straight into the capital city of Chetumal. Chetumal itself acts as both a hyper-affordable anchor and a logistics closet, letting you offload your big box shopping and top-tier private surgical hospital needs in minutes. Let's head south. First up, the affordable capital city of Chetumal.
This is Bill Hare from Affordable Retirement Abroad. I'm in downtown Chetumal. We're adding this city to our itinerary. Didn't plan on it, but it's worked out. Gonna walk around and see what it's like. Let's get started.
There is a massive misconception that retiring in the Yucatan means you have to choose between the scorching inland heat of Mérida or the sky-high Gringo tax of the Riviera Maya. But what if you want affordable, waterfront living with heavy-duty first-world infrastructure without the massive tourist crowds? Welcome to Chetumal. It's the capital of the Mexican state of Quintana Roo and sits quietly in the southeast corner of the Yucatán Peninsula, right on the border with Belize. But the big question we always ask here on this channel is, just because a place has a waterfront and cheap prices, does that actually make it livable long term? We have to ask, is Chetumal the ultimate untouristy Mexican haven, or is it too isolated for a comfortable retirement? Today we're putting Chetumal through the 10 dimensions of the GeoPension report card. Stick around to the end and I'll reveal its final score to see how it truly stacks up. Chetumal offers a vibe that is completely different from the heavily touristed Riviera Maya to the north. It features a sprawling layout with a beautiful malecón, or boardwalk, that stretches for miles along the bay. But the real secret weapon of this micro-location is the infrastructure. Because it's a state capital, you have incredibly easy access to top-tier private medical clinics and massive big-box stores like Sam's Club, Walmart, and Chedraui. That means you get quick access to first-world amenities without the inflated Gringo tax you pay in Playa del Carmen or Tulum. But can it pass the accessibility stress test for a North American pension? A single expat retiree can live very comfortably in Chetumal for approximately $1,700 to $2,400 US per month. Because it lacks a massive expat market, your dollar stretches incredibly far here, allowing you to rent near the water and eat out frequently without breaking the bank. So let's dig into exactly why that is across our 10 categories. Let's talk rent. Chetumal doesn't have the huge inflated expat market of Playa del Carmen or Tulum. Because of this, you can find a comfortable 2-bedroom home or modern apartment just a few blocks from the bay for around $600 to $900 a month. Chetumal, in fact, is 40 to 60% cheaper than its Riviera Maya neighbors to the north. But what if you want to buy your retirement home outright? The real estate market here offers a massive discount compared to the Riviera Maya, with nice homes often selling anywhere from $150,000 to $250,000. However, you must understand that the legal reality is, because Chetumal sits right on the coast and right on the Belize border, it is located squarely inside Mexico's restricted zone. This means as a foreigner, you cannot hold direct title to residential land. You have to buy it through a fideicomiso, a 50-year renewable bank trust. It's a completely legal and safe system that expats use all over Mexico, but you need to factor the initial setup fees and the annual bank management charges into your budget. Even with those extra steps, the overall property value is undeniable, so Chetumal gets an 8 out of 10 for deep affordability, making it one of the best waterfront values in all of Mexico. Number 2, healthcare access, 9 out of 10. This is Chetumal's superpower. As the capital of Quintana Roo State, it has modern private clinics and hospitals, such as Centro Médico de Chetumal and Clínica Carranza. But the real secret is that specialist doctors from Mexico City visit Chetumal's hospitals on a regular scheduled basis. You have access to world-class medical specialists, cardiologists, orthopedists, and ophthalmologists, all at a fraction of U.S. prices, often with same-day MRI results for under $200. Number 3, safety and stability, 8 out of 10. While not quite as statistically safe as the state of Yucatán next door, Chetumal is generally a peaceful, family-oriented government town. According to the U.S. State Department, it has a safety rating of level 2, the same as France, Italy, and Germany. It lacks the heavy cartel presence associated with massive resort towns, and expats generally feel very secure walking the Malecón and enjoying the local culture. Just practice common sense, and you'll find a stable, welcoming community. Number 4, walkability and transport, 7 out of 10. The Malecón is fantastic for a morning walk, but Chetumal is sprawling. Unlike the compact colonial center of Valladolid, you will likely rely on cheap local taxis or the bus system to get to Walmart or Sam's Club for your heavy groceries. While you don't strictly need to own a car, getting across town takes a bit more effort. But we also have to talk about getting to Chetumal in the first place, because it's not easy. The local airport does not fly non-stop to Cancun or Mérida. You are dealing with an isolation level very similar to Campeche. Your best options for getting in and out are the ADO bus system or the brand new train Maya. I was just at the new Chetumal train station and it is absolutely beautiful, but you are still looking at a 4+ hour ride just to get up to the Cancun airport for international flights. If flying back to the States to see the grandkids frequently is a top priority, that logistical isolation is something you need to seriously consider. Number 5, community and belonging, 6 out of 10. If you want a ready-made English-speaking expat bubble with weekly mixers, Chetumal may not be for you. The expat community here is small and scattered, but there are 2 Facebook groups who serve the area, Expats of Chetumal and Expats and Locals of Chetumal, Bacalar, and Mahahual. Also, the Mexican locals are incredibly friendly, and you will find it rewarding to integrate into the genuine local culture. Scores a 6 for those needing hand-holding, but a much higher personal score if you prefer an authentic Mexican lifestyle. Number 6, language and English access, 5 out of 10. This ties directly into the community aspect. Because Chetumal is not a tourist hub, English is not widely spoken outside of some specialist doctors and higher-end hotels. Check out this recent Facebook group conversation where an expat is seeking a local to translate a real estate closing. Point is, you will absolutely need some Spanish to negotiate rent, shop at local markets, and handle your daily life. If you refuse to learn Spanish, Chetumal may be a frustrating experience. Number 7, climate and environment, 7 out of 10. Like the rest of the peninsula, Chetumal is hot and humid. However, sitting right on the bay gives it a nice coastal breeze that helps take the edge off the intense summer heat compared to the inland cities. You'll still rely on your AC, but it's more bearable. Plus, the surrounding nature, like the nearby Bacalar Lagoon or the stunning Caribbean beaches of Mahahual, offer fantastic weekend escapes. And don't forget Belize, just a few miles away, with direct water taxis to the beach mecca of San Pedro in Ambergris Key. Another big plus for Chetumal is it generally does not suffer from the massive sargassum seaweed issues that are plaguing the Caribbean-facing destinations like Playa del Carmen and Tulum. Chetumal is protected by its geography, as it is located on a bay, the Bahia de Chetumal, rather than the open Caribbean Sea, and it's usually reported as seaweed-free, even during peak sargassum seasons. Number 8, pet friendliness and care, 8 out of 10. With miles of paved malecón and nearby parks, Chetumal is a fantastic place for dogs. Being a capital city, you also have access to excellent, highly affordable veterinary care. Just keep an eye out for the usual street dogs, and your furry friends will enjoy the lifestyle as much as you do. Number 9, visas and practicality, 6 out of 10. Here's the catch, and why Chetumal takes a massive hit in accessibility. In 2026, the Mexican government requires you to show over $4,300 a month in income just to get a temporary residency visa. If you're living on a fixed Social Security check of $2,000 and you don't have at least $75,000 in savings in the bank, the front door to Mexico is officially slammed shut. But don't give up hope. In my next video, I'll show you a workaround where you can live just next door to Chetumal in Belize, where the visa income requirement is much lower. And finally, number 10, the vibe check, 8 out of 10. Chetumal offers an authentic, untouristy Mexican experience. It's a place where you can enjoy big city amenities like top-tier healthcare and big box shopping without the frantic energy or inflated prices of the Riviera Maya. The vibe is decidedly slow, governmental, and peaceful. If you want a quiet life by the water with all the modern conveniences, Chetumal nails the vibe. The final score is in. Chetumal earns a respectable 72 out of 100. It boasts some of the best affordable waterfront living and healthcare access in Mexico, but it's dragged down by its remoteness and those brutal Mexican visa requirements. But what if I told you there's a back door? A legal way to use Chetumal's cheap healthcare and groceries without needing a Mexican visa. In my next video, I'm going to break down exactly how to legally live in the Caribbean on just $2,000 a month just a few miles from Chetumal. And still use Chetumal as your personal supply closet. Let me know in the comments below, would you try to meet the steep Mexican visa requirements for Chetumal, or are you looking for a side door? Next up, Bacalar. There's a massive misconception when North Americans look to retire in the Yucatán Peninsula that you have to choose between the scorching inland heat of Mérida or the sky-high Gringo tax of the Riviera Maya. But what if you want affordable waterfront living with easy access to heavy-duty first-world infrastructure without the massive tourist crowds? What if you could wake up every single morning next to a breathtaking, crystal-clear, 7-color blue lagoon? What if you could secure a quiet lifestyle in an authentic Mexican pueblo with a growing but intimate expat community while offloading all your heavy commercial and medical overhead directly onto a major capital city infrastructure just 30 minutes down the road? Welcome back to Affordable Retirement Abroad. I'm Bill Hare, and today on GeoPension Journeys, we're putting Bacalar in the Yucatan through our unvarnished official 10-category report card audit. Bacalar is world-renowned as the Maldives of Mexico for its crystal-clear turquoise waters and wooden overwater piers. But can a retiree expat actually live there? On this channel, we reject generic real estate marketing fluff to look at relocation through a strict financial and logistical lens. We use the GeoPension Framework, the data-driven reality that changing your geography is the single fastest way to fix your long-term fixed income runway without compromising safety or peace of mind. So, by using the exact same metrics from our Campeche, Valladolid, and Chetumal deep dives, you'll be able to make a strict apples-to-apples baseline comparison to see if Bacalar can help you double your fixed income runway. Let's jump straight into the data. A single retiree can live a very comfortable lifestyle in Bacalar for around $1,400 to $2,100 US per month, while a retired couple can easily secure a full, dignified landing runway for $1,800 to, say, $2,600 USD per month, provided you bypass dollarized waterfront tourist rentals and utilize local domestic listing strategies just a few blocks inland from the lagoon. If you stay on the immediate lagoon front, you're going to pay premium tourist prices for dining and entertainment, but step just 3 blocks inland into the actual pueblo and the cost of daily life plummets. Fresh local produce at neighborhood frutarias, inexpensive street tacos, and domestic utility services mean your daily baseline expenditures, what I call your drink prices, stay remarkably low. Bacalar punches far above its weight for boutique dining, lakeside cafes, and local artisanal markets. But the real GeoPension hack is how you handle your heavy retail needs. Don't pay high boutique markup prices inside the pueblo. For bulk items, groceries, and Western goods, you simply make a short weekly supply run down to Chetumal's massive commercial center to hit the Walmart and Sam's Club. You get the peace of a village with the convenience of a metropolis. So for pure budget preservation away from the waterfront zone, Bacalar really stands out. Now let's turn to our 10 categories. Number 1, housing cost fit. This is where you have to be highly strategic. Waterfront real estate on the lagoon is tightly held and incredibly expensive. However, if you execute the local portal strategy we teach on this channel, bypassing the English-facing expat portals and instead using websites like inmuebles24.com, you will find comfortable, modern, 2-bedroom, standalone Mexican homes just a few blocks inland renting for between $550 and $850 US a month. I extensively walked these neighborhoods and found very appealing rental and purchase options. It's an exceptional value for a world-class water destination, earning a 7.5 out of 10. Number 2, healthcare access. This is an essential logistical reality check. Bacalar itself only features small pharmacies and basic medical clinics for routine issues. It lacks deep emergency room or surgical infrastructure. However, your absolute safety net is the fact that you're sitting exactly 30 minutes north of Chetumal. Chetumal features premier private hospitals like Clínica Carranza, where rotating teams of world-class specialists regularly travel down from Mexico City. You are offloading your healthcare to a capital city, meaning you just have to manage the 30-minute transport corridor. It feels a 6.5 out of 10. Number 3, safety and stability. Personal security is the number one anxiety for fixed-income explorers. Because Bacalar's local economy is entirely centered around low-impact, eco-conscious boutique tourism rather than high-turnover, all-inclusive mega-resorts, it has successfully preserved its peaceful, sleepy Pueblo atmosphere. Violent crime is extremely rare here. It's a tight-knit community where locals and expats look out for one another, making it highly reassuring for single or couple retirees. The Bacalar area has a U.S. State Department safety rating of 2, on par with Italy or Germany. Overall, it earns a secure 8 out of 10. Number 4, walkability and transport. Bacalar Centro and the blocks surrounding the historic fort are beautifully walkable, flat, and filled with senior-friendly pathways. The ADO bus system serves Bacalar through a dedicated station located on the main highway at the edge of town, offering reliable first-class, air-conditioned coach service that connects this tranquil lagoon destination to major regional hubs like Cancun, Tulum, Playa del Carmen, and Chetumal. The massive infrastructure upgrade here is the brand new Train Maya rail station on the edge of town, giving you high-speed links to the rest of the peninsula. The deduction here comes from the last-mile reality. Once you move into the newer residential zones, sidewalks become highly uneven or completely unpaved gravel. While Bacalar feels like a remote paradise, its travel plumbing is exceptionally efficient. Just a short drive from Bacalar, you can now explore the ancient Maya city of Izabal, a massive recently unveiled archaeological site that features pyramids even taller than those at Chichen Itza, finally offering visitors a rare glimpse into a monumental lost city that remained hidden deep in the jungle for decades. Also, you're a straightforward 30-minute drive from the Chetumal International Airport, which offers daily connections to Mexico City and beyond. Furthermore, the newly operational Train Maya rail networks let you step out of your neighborhood and take a fast air-conditioned train ride straight up to Cancun or over to Mérida without ever touching a car. This all gives you incredible border flexibility, matching out at 6.5 out of 10. Number 5, community and belonging. If you're looking for an insulated English-only bubble where you never have to learn a word of Spanish, Bacalar is not the layout for you. The expat community here is relatively small, growing, and heavily eco-conscious. These are transplants who want to learn the language, respect the native culture, and integrate seamlessly into the local community. It's a highly supportive, warm environment, but it requires a mindset of active participation. There are a number of Facebook groups covering Bacalar to jumpstart your community building. Overall, it scores a balanced 7.0 out of 10. Number 6, language and English access, 7 out of 10. Bacalar is fundamentally a Spanish-speaking pueblo, not a purpose-built tourist enclave. While you will find basic English spoken in central hotels and some lagoon-front restaurants, the day-to-day operations of the town, from local markets and utility offices to neighborhood hardware stores, require at least a functional command of Spanish or the willingness to leverage real-time digital translation tools like Google Translate. Because it lacks the heavy English-dominant expat bubble of northern hubs like Playa del Carmen, you shouldn't rely on English as a default. But this very barrier is precisely what keeps the area authentic, affordable, and free from the hyperinflated Gringo tax that plagues more convenient destinations. Category 7, climate and environment. Let's talk straight. If you're highly averse to intense heat and muggy tropical environments, the lowlands of Quintana Roo State will test you. Summer temperatures consistently push back 90 degrees Fahrenheit with very high humidity. The saving grace that keeps Bacalar livable compared to the deep inland hubs like Valladolid is the constant afternoon breeze sweeping off the lagoon surface. Still, you must factor the cost of running that mini-split air conditioning into your monthly ledger. A big plus for Bacalar is it does not suffer from the massive sargassum seaweed issues that affect Caribbean-facing destinations like Playa del Carmen and Tulum in the warmer months. It's protected by its geography, so those turquoise lagoons are pristine year-round. Overall score, 6 out of 10. Number 8, pet friendliness and care. Bacalar is an exceptionally pet-friendly pueblo, characterized by its outdoor-centric, lagoon-focused lifestyle where dogs are commonly seen accompanying their owners on walks through the Zocalo and along the waterfront docks. While you won't find the large-scale pet resorts or specialized grooming boutiques typical of North American suburbs, the town is well served by reliable local veterinarians who handle routine vaccinations, common tropical health needs, and standard preventative care at a fraction of U.S. costs. The overall vibe is welcoming and laid back, though, as with any tropical destination, proactive tick and parasite management is a non-negotiable requirement for your pet's long-term health. Bacalar earns a solid 7.5 out of 10 for balancing pet-inclusive culture with functional local veterinary support. Number 9, visas and practicality. This is where Bacalar hits the same strict regulatory wall as the rest of the nation. As we've detailed on this channel, Mexico's 2026 financial solvency minimums have climbed dramatically, with consulates requiring over $4,300 a month in proven income for temporary residency, or at least savings of $75,000. However, because you're sitting right on the southern border corridor, savvy fixed-income explorers have the unique flexibility to cross the bridge and look at highly accessible residency paths in nearby Belize if they want an alternative side door. Check out my recent border hack videos on this very topic. So on a pure Mexican evaluation though, the entry bar remains high, 6.0 out of 10. Finally, number 10, the vibe check. The overall vibe in Bacalar can best be described as Tulum 20 years ago. A sleepy, unhurried, low-impact Pueblo Mágico that has deliberately rejected the hyper-commercialized, high-overhead, all-inclusive resort hustle of the northern Riviera Maya. Life here is structured almost entirely around the tranquil rhythms of its mesmerizing freshwater lagoon of 7 colors. The daytime soundtrack isn't thumping beach club bass, but rather the gentle lapping of crystal clear water against raw wooden docks and the rustle of palapas in the constant afternoon breeze. While a growing bohemian chic expat community and a vibrant selection of farm-to-table cafes cluster near the waterfront, the village center remains firmly tied to its authentic, family-run Mexican roots. And the food is top-notch. Check out this delicious, locally made salsa matcha that I got addicted to when the charming owner of my B&B set it out on the breakfast table each morning of my stay. Overall, Bacalar is a peaceful, highly integrated ecosystem designed for slow travel and mindful budget allocation, making it an incredible oasis for retirees who value quiet nature and small-town social fabric over synthetic tourist bubbles. So the data has been crunched. Bacalar, Mexico matches out with a final official score of 69 out of 100 on our GeoPension Index. It is a physically spectacular, remarkably safe location that allows you to offload your commercial and medical infrastructure needs directly onto nearby Chetumal while enjoying a slow-paced, low-cost, daily lifestyle next to the water. But I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and let me know. Would you prefer the quiet, eco-conscious layout of Bacalar Lagoon, or do you need the heavy, immediate big city amenities of a spot like Mérida or Playa del Carmen? Let me know your strategy down in the thread. Next, Mahahual.
Mahahual, taking a break, doing a little bone fishing. It is glorious here, and this is right in the heart of town. You can see in the background here, you can walk right out of the downtown onto the reef, all kinds of fish, and right there's that big tower right in the center of town. This is a fabulous spot.
Welcome back to Affordable Retirement Abroad. I'm Bill Hare, and today on GeoPension Journeys we ask, is a remote beach paradise with a split personality the ultimate Mexico-Caribbean retirement hack? If you want to retire on Mexico's stunning Caribbean coast, but towns like Tulum or Playa del Carmen are entirely too developed and commercialized for your taste, or just too expensive for your budget, you might find yourself looking further south on the Yucatan, down to Mahahual. But when you research Mahahual, you're going to find massive cruise ships docking at the local port and thousands of day trippers flooding the local boardwalk. At first glance, it looks like a loud, hectic tourist trap. But remember the core rule of this channel. We don't rely on broad, sweeping headlines or tourist brochures to choose where we retire. We rely on the GeoPension Framework's data-driven analysis. Because the truth is, you don't retire to a country, you retire to a specific neighborhood in a specific city, what we call a micro-location. So what if I told you that the tourist crowds in Mahahual are only half the story? Today we're putting this fascinating coastal town through the ultimate stress test, the GeoPension Report Card. Let's find out if Mahahual is a hidden paradise or a logistical nightmare for a social security budget. To understand Mahahual, you have to understand its distinct, fascinating, split personality. Most days of the week, particularly Monday through Wednesday, the ships roll in and the town enters a frantic, bustling hustle by 9 to 10 a.m. The local restaurants, bars, and beach clubs are wide open, fully staffed, and humming with energy. But the moment those massive ships blow their horns and sail away in the late afternoon, a magic trick happens. Mahahual instantly reverts back to a sleepy, barefoot fishing village, where you can hear the wind rustling through the palm trees. This built-in infrastructure means you get access to excellent, diverse restaurants and a well-maintained boardwalk, but you retain the tranquility of a small-town life that moment the tourists leave. So let's look at the real numbers to see if the math actually works for a full-time expat. A single expat retiree can live a wonderful laid-back lifestyle in Mahahual for about $1,300 to $2,000 a month, and couples can comfortably manage on $1,800 to $2,400. Because it lacks the continuous luxury premium of the northern Riviera Maya hubs of Playa del Carmen and Tulum, your day-to-day dollars stretch incredibly far here. Let's break down exactly how that reflects across our 10 grading categories. First up is housing, and Mahahual scores an 8 out of 10. The key here for the savvy geohacker is simple: avoid the beachfront properties. If you insist on waking up with your feet in the sand, you'll pay a premium. Instead, look just a few blocks inland to the local Casitas neighborhood.
Okay, we've seen a lot of video of the beach area of Mahahual. Now I'm in the place where most folks and the growing expat community actually live. This is just a few minutes from the beach, but we're going to walk around and get a feel for the vibe here.
Here you can easily secure traditional, modest Mexican apartments or small standalone homes for $400 to $600 a month. If you want something more modern, updated with high-efficiency air conditioning and newer finishes, long-term rentals sit beautifully between $650 and $950 a month, and you're still just a quick 5-minute bike ride right back to the ocean. On top of that, the Casitas neighborhood is unaffected by the daily influx of the cruise ship hordes. Number 2, healthcare access, 4 out of 10. Now we hit the single biggest hurdle for this town: healthcare. Mahahual receives the lowest rating for any retirement spot we have profiled in the Yucatan. Why is that? Well, although Mahahual has basic small local clinics and pharmacies that can easily handle a minor stomach bug, routine prescriptions, or basic stitches, it completely lacks a major hospital infrastructure. For serious medical care, emergency services, or specialized doctors, you must make a 1.5 to 2 hour drive south to the city of Chetumal. If you have chronic, complex health issues requiring regular specialist visits, Mahahual's remoteness is a major risk factor you must weigh carefully. Number 3, safety and stability, 7 out of 10. Day-to-day life in Mahahual is tranquil, slow, and highly community-oriented. Because it is an isolated coastal town, everyone knows everyone, and crime is primarily limited to petty opportunistic theft if you leave your bicycle unlocked. The broader state of Quintana Roo holds a U.S. State Department Level 2 safety rating, which is on par with countries like France, Germany, and Italy, meaning you can comfortably walk the local neighborhoods without fear. Number 4, walkability and transport, 6 out of 10. Once you're in town, Mahahual is delightfully flat, bike-friendly, and walkable, but its remote geography presents a unique challenge. To answer a common viewer question, yes, the ADO bus system does run directly into Mahahual, though the schedules are limited to a couple trips a day from hubs like Cancun or Chetumal. The real game changer now is the new Train Maya. You can take the train straight to the Limones station, step off, and take a cheap 40-minute local colectivo transit van right into town. This significantly opens up travel, but the town is still far enough off the beaten path to keep transport scores modest. Number 5, community and belonging, 7 out of 10. There is a deeply passionate, tight-knit expat community here made up of divers, fishermen, and independent spirits who love being surrounded by nature. It isn't a massive organized retirement enclave like Lake Chapala or Playa del Carmen, so finding your group takes a little initiative, but the shared love for this town's unique rhythm brings people together quickly. There are a number of Facebook groups covering Mahahual to jumpstart your community building. Language access gets a 6 out of 10. When the cruise ships are docked along the waterfront, English is spoken absolutely everywhere. However, the second you step back into the residential Casitas neighborhoods to live your day-to-day life, buy local ingredients, or handle a rental agreement, you're in authentic Mexico. You will absolutely need conversational Spanish to navigate life smoothly here outside the tourist zones. Climate and environment earn a fantastic 8 out of 10. You have world-class access to the Mesoamerican Barrier Reef right out your front door, making it a dream for scuba diving and snorkeling. It's also a global mecca for my personal favorite hobby, fly fishing, drawing anglers from across the world to hunt for bonefish and permit in the shallow flats. The only deduction here is the hot, humid summers and the seasonal sargassum seaweed that can impact the beaches, though the town works aggressively to keep the main boardwalk area clean. For your pets, Mahahual gets a 7 out of 10. The dirt roads, sandy paths, and laid-back outdoor restaurants make it a really fun, low-stress environment for dogs who love the beach life. Mahahual has local veterinary options available for basic pet care, consultations, and routine medical needs, such as Clínica Veterinaria Mahahual and the Clínica Animal Mahahual. The downside is that advanced veterinary pet care is located 80 miles away in Chetumal. Visas and practicality earn a 7 out of 10. You still have to clear Mexico's strict financial residency thresholds, proving roughly $4,300 a month in recurring income or showing $75,000 in savings. But beyond the visa, Mahahual is a highly practical base camp for exploration. Just an hour's drive south down a quiet coastal road lies Xcalak and the pristine Xcalak Reef National Park. It is literally the end of the road in Mexico, a breathtaking off-the-grid paradise right in your backyard. But your access doesn't stop at the coast. If you head inland to Highway 307 and go south, you immediately hit the stunning Lagoon of 7 colors in Bacalar. Continue just a bit further south from Bacalar, and you reach the capital city of Chetumal. Not only does having Chetumal nearby solve your major healthcare and big box shopping needs, but it places you right at the gateway to Belize. Finally, the boots on the ground factor. The vibe here gets an 8 out of 10. The split personality nature of this town creates a unique lifestyle dynamic. You get the energy and high-end culinary options driven by the cruise infrastructure by day, but you get to sleep in a quiet, authentic, barefoot paradise by night. It offers a sense of coastal escape that has been entirely priced out of the northern parts of the state. So what's the bottom line? When we look at the data, Mahahual brings home a highly respectable score of 68 out of 100. It's a specialized destination. If you require immediate, world-class medical care around the corner, this is a hard pass. But if you're independent, healthy, love the ocean, and want an affordable Caribbean lifestyle away from the urban sprawl, Mahahual is a magnificent hidden loophole. The southern loop of the Yucatan provides a world-class runway for a fixed income, but it relies on one single, massive bottleneck. You still have to legally secure a Mexican residency visa. And under the current income guidelines, a solo retiree can be required to show over $4,500 a month in verified pension income just to get past the consulate door. So what happens if you simply do not meet those heavy financial solvency cliffs? Is your plan to retire abroad completely finished? Absolutely not. You pivot to a multi-country strategy. In this final bonus section of our masterclass, we are crossing the border bridge into northern Belize to audit the Belize border hack. I'm going to show you how a sleepy border town like Core-Satellite and an offshore island paradise like San Pedro allow you to capture a legal English-speaking retirement visa on a highly accessible income requirement, all while utilizing a short highway lane or a quick water ferry to offload your healthcare and major shopping needs straight back into Chetumal, Mexico. Let's check out the backup plan. First up, the Belize border hack and Core-Satellite town. Welcome back to Affordable Retirement Abroad. I'm Bill Hare, and today on GeoPension Journeys, we explore the ultimate Mexico retirement border hack. Let's get into it. In my last video, I showed you the incredible healthcare and first world infrastructure hiding in the southeast corner of the Yucatan in Chetumal, Mexico. It's affordable, it's waterfront, and it has almost zero tourist crowds. But I also revealed a brutal truth. In 2026, the Mexican government is demanding you show over $4,300 a month in income just to get a temporary retirement visa. For most people relying on a standard Social Security check, that door is slammed shut. But what if I told you there was a legal back door? What if you only have $2,000 a month, but you still want access to cheap Mexican groceries and world-class doctors? The answer isn't in Mexico at all. It's sitting just 9 miles away across the border in the English-speaking country of Belize. If Mexico's financial requirements are locking you out, you need to look south. Belize has a specific immigration track designed exactly for people like us. It's called the Qualified Retirement Program, or the QRP. Here's the magic number. If you're over 40 years old, the income requirement to qualify for the QRP is only $2,000 a month. Let that sink in. Millions of Americans and Canadians who are totally priced out of the Mexican residency market easily qualify for residency in Belize. Plus, Belize is the only country in Central America where English is the official language. You don't need to struggle with learning Spanish to handle your banking, your leasing, or your daily life. It is the path of least resistance for a fixed income retiree. So where do you go? Let me introduce you to Core-Satellite. This town sits right on the border of Mexico. It is a sleepy, tranquil bay town. It is not a bustling metropolis, and it is not a massive tourist trap. It's quiet. Let's talk about the cost of living. Because it's not a major tourist hub, you can rent a nice modern 1 to 2 bedroom home here for anywhere between $600 and $1,000 a month. But here's the catch. I promised you straight talk, and here it is. Core-Satellite is small. It is a wonderful place for peace and quiet, but it does not have massive state-of-the-art hospitals. It does not have giant big box grocery stores. If you live here, your local shopping is limited to small grocers and local markets. So how do you survive and thrive on a budget in Core-Satellite without sacrificing the first world amenities? All right, let's break down the hack. You're living comfortably in Core-Satellite on your $2,000 a month QRP visa, but you need to see a specialist doctor and you want to stock up on bulk groceries. It's incredibly simple. Expats living in Core-Satellite just hop on the local Silva bus. For just a few bucks, this bus takes you directly across the border into Chetumal, Mexico. Suddenly, you are back in the land of first world infrastructure. You can spend the afternoon loading up on cheap bulk groceries at the massive Sam's Club or Walmart. You can schedule an appointment with a world-class English-speaking medical specialist for a fraction of the cost you'd pay in the US. Once your shopping and appointments are done, you load your bags back onto the bus, cross the border, and go home to your peaceful English-speaking life in Belize. You're essentially getting the low $2,000 visa requirement of Belize paired perfectly with a high-end, cheap infrastructure of Mexico. This is the ultimate GeoPension hack. Now, is this GeoPension strategy for everybody? Let's talk straight. No, it's not. You have to be comfortable with the realities of logistics. Making a border run into Mexico isn't just a quick stroll down to the corner store. It takes a good chunk of your day. You have to deal with immigration checkpoints, getting your passport stamped, and navigating the transport across the bridge. Now, does it become a totally normal, boring routine pretty quickly? Yes, it does, but it's still a chore you have to factor into your week. And perhaps the biggest consideration, you have to be perfectly okay living in a town that practically goes to sleep by 8 p.m. Core-Satellite is absolutely beautiful, but it's not for party animals. It's a quiet, breezy, slow-paced life. But here's the secret that makes this entire hack work. Whenever that quiet gets to be a little too much, the expats in Core-Satellite just hop the border. In fact, the local Belizean expats have some pretty great nicknames for their big Mexican neighbor. When they need a big city fix, a trip to the massive Chedraui grocery store, or a modern movie theater, they say they're heading over to Chetumal. And when they want to actually stay out late, hit the energetic restaurants, and enjoy the nightlife along the waterfront, they're heading over to Chetumal. It's the ultimate best of both worlds setup. You get the sleepy, English-speaking, ultra-affordable Caribbean life in Belize, but the modern conveniences, healthcare, and nightlife of Mexico are just 30 minutes away. It's built for retirees who want their dollar to stretch as far as humanly possible without actually sacrificing first world access. Core-Satellite is fantastic for peace and quiet, but what if you want more? What if your dream is that vibrant Caribbean island lifestyle with crystal clear water and a huge expat community, but you still want to use cheap Mexican healthcare and groceries to keep your budget in check? In part 3 of this Mexico border hack series, I'm going to show you how to pull off this exact same border hack with Chetumal, not just from sleepy Corozal, but from Belize's most desirable and expensive island, made affordable for you by this border hack. And now the final destination in our 10-city Yucatan tour, San Pedro, Belize.
Welcome back to Affordable Retirement Abroad. I'm Bill Hare, and today on GeoPension Journeys, we ask, is the ultimate Mexico Caribbean retirement hack living in Belize?
This is San Pedro, located on Ambergris Cay in Belize. For decades, this has been the ultimate Caribbean retirement dream. English-speaking, incredibly laid back, and surrounded by the second largest barrier reef in the world. But the truth is, island living is expensive. Everything from a box of cereal to a gallon of gas has to be shipped in, creating a massive Gringo tax on your daily cost of living. Combine that with the fact that neighboring Mexico, which is much cheaper, just raised their retirement visa income requirements to over $4,300 a month. Many fixed-income Americans now feel completely priced out of this region. But what if I told you that the smartest expats living in this expensive Belizean island are using a geographical loophole to get the best of both worlds? Today I'm going to show you the water taxi hack. How to anchor your residency in Belize on a standard Social Security check, but use a 90-minute boat ride to tap into Mexico's cheap groceries and first world healthcare. If you're new to this channel, you need to understand the financial wall Mexico has recently built. In 2026, to get a temporary residency visa in Mexico, you need to prove a monthly income of over $4,300. For the average American on Social Security, that's a deal breaker. Enter the ultimate plan B, the Belize QRP, or Qualified Retirement Program. Belize practically rolls out the red carpet for expats. If you are 40 years or older, you only need to show an income of $2,000 a month to qualify. Not only is it significantly easier to get, but it comes with massive perks, like importing your personal goods duty-free and paying zero tax on your foreign income. Plus, the official language is English, meaning you don't need to spend your retirement translating legal documents. Now, why would anyone go through the trouble of the water taxi hack? It's because of the very specific demographic I talk to every single day, the retirees who are priced out of the Mexican dream. Maybe you have a Social Security check or a modest pension that puts you in the $2,500 to $3,500 a month income range. You have enough to live well, but you don't have the $4,300 plus in documented monthly income that Mexico now demands for residency. You aren't broke, but you're trapped by a visa requirement that doesn't reflect your actual ability to afford a great life. This is exactly who the GeoPension border hack is designed for. San Pedro is a premium island. That's the straight talk. You're going to see rentals here that range from $1,200 to $1,800 a month. If you're trying to live on $2,000, this island will eat your lunch. But if your budget is in that $2,500 to $3,500 sweet spot, this island becomes an absolute playground. You anchor your residency here in Belize, where the visa requirement is a much more realistic $2,000, and you use the boat to Mexico to slash your cost of living on everything else. You get the island lifestyle, the Caribbean reef, the tax benefits, while still keeping a foot in the Mexican economy for your major expenses. It's the ultimate geographical arbitrage. So Belize gives you the affordable residency on paper, but how do you afford the actual day-to-day life on an expensive island like San Pedro? Well, you get on a boat. Look at the map. San Pedro sits on Ambergris Cay, which is actually a peninsula extending down from Mexico. Just across the Chetumal Bay lies the bustling modern Mexican city of Chetumal. Because San Pedro is so close to the border, there is a dedicated international water taxi service run by companies like San Pedro Belize Express and WaterJets International. They ferry people directly from the island straight to the maritime terminal in Chetumal, Mexico. San Pedro Belize Express, for example, operates 3 round trips weekly on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, departing San Pedro at 8:30 a.m., returning from Chetumal at 3:30 p.m. Here's how the logistics of the hack actually work. You book your ticket, usually around $80 to $140 round trip. You board the boat right from the dock in San Pedro. The boat speeds up the scenic coastline, taking about 90 minutes. You get off at the dock in Chetumal, walk through Mexican immigration to get your passport stamped, and suddenly, you're standing in a massive, highly developed Mexican city where the cost of living is a fraction of what it is back on the island. The expats in San Pedro have a nickname for this trip. They call it the Chetumal Run, or they just say they're going to Chetumal. Why? Because Chetumal is the ultimate stock-up destination. Let me give you some straight talk and bust a quick myth. There is no Costco in Chetumal, but you don't need one because they have a massive Sam's Club, a Walmart Supercenter, and a giant Mexican hypermarket called Chedraui. Expats load up on everything from bulk paper towels and premium meats to electronics and appliances that would cost double back home on Ambergris Cay. But the real secret weapon of this boat ride is the healthcare. While San Pedro has basic clinics for everyday issues, if you need specialized dental work, an MRI, or a consultation with a specialist, Chetumal has high-end private medical facilities. In fact, specialists from premier Mexico City hospitals regularly schedule visits to Chetumal for consultations. You're getting top-tier Mexican healthcare at Mexican peso prices, just a 90-minute boat ride from your Caribbean beach house. Now you may be thinking, Bill, I don't want to spend my retirement carrying heavy boxes of groceries on and off of a ferry. Well, you don't have to. Because this border hack is so heavily utilized, an entire microeconomy has sprung up around it. The expat community regularly coordinates group shopping trips to split taxi costs while in Mexico. Even better, there are trusted local personal shoppers in San Pedro. You can find them in local Facebook groups. You literally just hand them your Sam's Club shopping list, and they typically handle the entire process. They video call you live from the store, buy your items, clear them through customs at the northern border, and then drop them off with a freight forwarding service or the water taxi back to San Pedro. It is geographical arbitrage at its absolute finest. This is exactly what the GeoPension Framework is all about. You anchor in Belize for the low $2,000 visa requirement and the beautiful Caribbean lifestyle, and you leverage the geography to access Mexico for first world healthcare and cheap groceries. Now for the reality check. Is this hack for everyone? No. First, it's a full-day chore. You're at the mercy of the water taxi schedule. If the boat leaves Chetumal at 3:30 p.m., you can't be late, or you're spending the night in Mexico. Second, it's weather dependent. If a storm blows in and the bay gets rough, that 90-minute boat ride can be bumpy, or the Port Authority might delay the ferries entirely. And finally, you do have to factor in the cost of the boat ticket, the taxi in Chetumal, and the Belize exit fees when doing your math. You have to buy enough bulk goods to make the trip mathematically worth it. But for the thousands of expats living their dream life in San Pedro, managing a monthly boat ride is a very small price to pay to beat the system. When you stop viewing international relocation as an emotional fantasy and start designing it using clear, logical geometry, your path to a premium lifestyle on a standard Social Security check becomes completely clear. You don't need $1 million saved to age in place with dignity, safety, and top-tier medical care. You simply need to align your geography to your financial advantage.
Congratulations on making it through at 2 hours, 10 cities, grand tour of affordable Yucatan options for Americans trying to retire on their Social Security payments.
Every single micro-location metric, transport corridor vector, and visa solvency benchmark we reviewed in this film is detailed block by block inside my new book, How to Retire to the Yucatan on a Social Security Budget. It's the definitive step-by-step written playbook for the entire GeoPension strategy. Just scan the QR code right here on your screen or click the clean Amazon link pinned at the very top of the comment section below to secure your playbook copy today. But I want to hear from you. Now that you've inspected all 10 regional profiles in one sitting, would you prefer the historical colonial charm of an interior jewel like Valladolid, the chiller lifestyle of a beach satellite like Progreso, or are you looking at the Belize border hack as your primary financial backup plan? Drop your relocation strategy in the thread down below and make sure to hit that subscribe button for our upcoming Baja and Colonial Highland road trips.
That's it for today. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe to my channel and hit that like button. I will see you in the next video.